Do not allow yourself to fall asleep the same way you did last night. Because if you do, you will awaken into the same income, the same habits, the same silent frustration that follows you day after day. Most men believe their future is decided in the morning, but that belief is an illusion. Your future is not born at sunrise. It is decided in the final thoughts you allow to settle into your mind before you surrender to sleep. That is the invisible line where millionaires separate themselves from the crowd. You already have a night routine. Every man does. It may be unplanned, it may be unconscious, but whether you realize it or not, it is shaping who you are becoming. The real question is simple. Is it building you, or is it quietly dissolving you? At this very moment, somewhere in the world, a man with no more talent than you is sitting in silence, preparing tomorrow's fortune inside his mind. There is no applause, no audience, no dramatic display, only discipline, deliberate, focused, intentional mental control before sleep. You admire the results, but you have never studied the ritual behind them. Here is what most men do at night. They replay their disappointments. They argue inside their imagination. They compare themselves to others. They drift through meaningless distractions until their energy fades. Then they close their eyes filled with tension and uncertainty, and somehow they expect opportunity to greet them in the morning. But your subconscious mind does not sleep. It works, it organizes, it obeys. It takes the final instructions you give it and multiplies them. If your last command is confusion, it expands confusion. If your last command is fear, it deepens fear. But if your last command is purpose, it multiplies purpose. The millionaire understands this law. He does not crawl into bed defeated by the day. He reviews it, he studies it, he extracts the lesson hidden inside it, he corrects the error, and then he rewrites tomorrow before it even arrives. You believe wealth is built in public, but in truth, it is prepared in private. Picture this clearly. Tonight, instead of surrendering to habit, you sit upright for 10 deliberate minutes. Just 10. You take your definite chief aim and you read it aloud, not casually, not half-heartedly, but with intensity. You feel it, you see it, you demand it. Then you ask yourself one question, a question that does not tolerate excuses. Did I go the extra mile today? Not did I try? Not was it difficult? But did you exceed expectation? If the answer is no, you do not justify it. You do not ignore it. You decide clearly and precisely how tomorrow will be different. It is so simple, it almost feels insulting, and that is exactly why most men will never do it. They chase complexity. They search for hidden formulas. They look for advanced systems, while ignoring the quiet repetition that reshapes identity. Night after night, directed thought carves certainty into the subconscious mind, and certainty has a strange power. It attracts opportunity. One man ends his night reacting to life. Another ends his night commanding it. After 3 months, their incomes begin to separate. After 1 year, their lives no longer resemble each other. Ignore this, and tonight will disappear like all the others, unclaimed, unfocused, wasted. Apply it, and within weeks something will begin to change in a way that feels almost unsettling. Your mind will no longer wander, it will begin to hunt. Understand this clearly. This is not about sleep, this is about instruction. And before this message ends, you will be given the exact structure of this millionaire night routine. The sequence, the questions, the commands so precise that you could begin tonight before midnight arrives. But first, answer honestly. Are you ending your days by accident or by design? Part 1, the final thought law, how the last 10 minutes command the next 10 years. A man does not lose his future in broad daylight. He loses it quietly, in the final moments before sleep. When his guard is lowered, when his mind begins to drift wherever habit directs it, that is where everything is decided. The crowd believes destiny is shaped by morning effort. It is not. It is prepared in the silence that comes just before rest. The subconscious mind does not sleep. It does not argue. It does not judge what is right or wrong. It simply obeys. And it goes to work on the final dominant thought impressed upon it before the body falls into unconsciousness. This is not theory. This is law. If a man ends his day in complaint, his mind carries complaint into its night work. If he ends in confusion, confusion multiplies. If he ends in defeat, the mind rehearses defeat until it feels normal. But if he ends in command, clear, definite, emotional command, His mind begins organizing opportunity around that instruction. Most men go to bed as victims of their day. They replay arguments. They relive disappointments. They compare themselves endlessly. They escape into distraction. And then they fall asleep without ever giving direction. So their subconscious, always obedient, continues the disorder. But the millionaire refuses this. He does not treat the final minutes casually. He understands that the mind is like fertile soil. It produces based on what is planted last. Henry Ford was known to go to sleep with problems still unsolved in reality, but not unresolved in thought. He would turn the problem over in his mind deliberately, not with anxiety, but with intention. And often, the solution would appear the moment he woke up. This was not luck. It was intentional planting. Andrew Carnegie followed the same discipline. He did not end his days in exhaustion alone. He ended them with decision. He determined what the next day would accomplish before allowing himself to rest. The difference between these men and the crowd was not just talent, it was direction, especially at night. Night is not only for rest, it is for organization. While you sleep, your mind arranges ideas, strengthens beliefs, and prepares responses for tomorrow. It does this whether you guide it or not. The untrained man believes sleep erases thought, but the truth is, it amplifies it. If you sleep with doubt, doubt grows stronger. If you sleep with purpose, purpose becomes sharper. This is why the final 10 minutes are sacred. 10 minutes of focused thought can outweigh 10 hours of distracted effort. The crowd laughs at simplicity. It searches endlessly for complexity. But those who succeed understand something deeper. Simple laws, repeated consistently, create extraordinary results. And repetition before sleep is more powerful than repetition at any other time. Because in that moment, the conscious mind relaxes, and the instruction enters directly into the subconscious. That is why careless thinking at night is dangerous. Most men review their failures, but they never correct them. They replay conversations. They justify mistakes. They blame circumstances, but they never extract the lesson. They never give a new command. So the same mistakes return again and again. But the disciplined man is different. He audits, he extracts, he corrects, he commands. He asks himself, what did I gain today? What did I waste? What will I do differently tomorrow? These are not simple reflections. They are instructions. And when they are given with emotion and certainty, they shape behavior the moment he wakes. You may believe income is created through action alone, but it is first created in thought. A man who ends each day with intentional improvement will improve. A man who ends each day in complaint will remain stuck. The difference between two men of equal ability begins in private. After 30 nights of directed thinking, hesitation begins to fade. After 90 nights, confidence becomes visible. After 1 year, identity itself is transformed. Most men lose 10 years of progress because they never correct daily. They accumulate small mistakes. They repeat inefficient patterns. They drift in minor confusion. 10 minutes each night could have prevented most of it. Think about this. A habit can begin forming in just 14 days. Now multiply that by 30 nights of clear instruction, then by 300 nights of deliberate command. The mind becomes sharp. Precision increases value. Value increases income. You admire the visible success of wealthy men, but you rarely study the invisible discipline behind it. The visible world is the effect. The thoughts before sleep are the cause. If you end your day by accident, tomorrow will repeat yesterday. But if you end your day by design, tomorrow becomes progress. The mind obeys, but it does not choose for you. It does not distinguish between worry and ambition. It simply strengthens whatever dominates. That is why your final thought must be chosen deliberately. Some men fall asleep before giving instruction. They surrender to fatigue. But fatigue is not the problem. Lack of direction is. Even in exhaustion, sit upright. Remove distraction, even for 10 minutes. Read your goal out loud, not casually, but with intensity. Let your own voice echo in your mind, because that echo becomes instruction. And when your mind hears you command your future consistently, it begins to accept your authority. Authority over yourself creates calm. Calm creates clarity. Clarity attracts opportunity. And that is why two men with equal ability can live completely different lives within just 1 year. One man drifts into sleep weighed down by circumstance. Another retires having already commanded tomorrow. The difference feels small each night, but over a year it becomes enormous. The millionaire does not wait for inspiration to arrive in the morning. He prepares it the night before. Say these words quietly before you sleep. My final thoughts are building my future. I end each day with command, not confusion. My mind works for me while I rest. These are not empty affirmations. They are instructions. And within weeks of disciplined nightly command, something subtle begins to shift. You wake with less hesitation. Ideas come to you more easily. Your decisions become sharper, more precise. You may not immediately connect these changes to your night discipline, but they are the direct result of it. Night discipline builds certainty. Certainty attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies opportunity. Opportunity increases income. The crowd believes wealth is created in public performance, but in truth it is prepared in private reflection. Neglect the final 10 minutes and you surrender control over the next 24 hours. Surrender that control every night, and it compounds into drift. But take control each night, and it compounds into power. The man who masters his final thought masters his direction. The next step is essential, because law without method remains incomplete. Now that you understand the power of the final thought, you must understand the structure behind it. Part 2. The exact sequence. The millionaire's 10-minute night ritual. Understanding the law is not enough. Execution requires order. The subconscious mind obeys the final instruction given before sleep, but the strength of that instruction depends on how it is delivered. Without structure, results become inconsistent. With structure applied nightly, results become inevitable. The millionaire does not improvise this ritual. He follows a precise sequence, because order matters. The first requirement is physical stillness. Your body must be upright, not collapsed in exhaustion. A man who gives instruction while half asleep gives weak commands. Authority begins with posture. Sit upright. Remove all distractions. Let these final minutes feel intentional. This simple act alone already separates you from the majority. The second step is reading your definite purpose aloud. Not scanning it, not whispering it without meaning, but reading it with emotion. Your voice must carry conviction, and if conviction is not yet present, you must summon it, because the mind responds far more strongly to emotional instruction than to cold repetition. Words without feeling are seeds thrown on stone, but when spoken with intensity, they begin to engrave themselves deep within the mind. Night after night, repetition strengthens belief, and over time, doubt loses its place. Henry Ford did not treat his vision as a distant wish. He repeated it until it became certainty, long before the world believed in it. His repetition came before recognition. After reading your purpose, you must visualize its completion. See yourself already there. Feel the composure. Feel the income earned with integrity. Feel the competence, the control, the confidence. This is not fantasy. It is rehearsal. The mind does not clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. And when this rehearsal is repeated nightly, confidence becomes natural, and confidence transforms how you act the next day. The next step is the audit. This is where most men stop because it requires honesty. Ask yourself directly, did I exceed expectations today? Not, did I try? Not, was I busy? But, did you truly go beyond what was required? If the answer is yes, acknowledge it calmly. If the answer is no, do not justify it. Identify the exact weakness. Excuses interrupt growth. Clarity corrects it. This audit is not punishment, it is direction. You are not judging yourself, you are guiding yourself. Next comes correction. Decide with precision how tomorrow will be different, not vaguely but specifically. If you avoided one call, tomorrow you make two. If you delayed one task, tomorrow you begin with it. If you complained once, tomorrow you eliminate complaint entirely. This decision must happen before sleep. Because now, your subconscious carries this instruction into its work. It begins organizing your thinking around improvement. Most men repeat their mistakes because they never correct them before sleep. They feel frustration, but never issue a new command, so frustration repeats. After correction comes gratitude. Not vague gratitude, but specific recognition of progress. This stabilizes confidence. Confidence stabilizes expectation. Expectation shapes perception. Perception determines which opportunities you notice. And finally comes command. A short, firm declaration. Tomorrow I act with greater precision and greater value. That is how the ritual closes. The entire sequence takes no more than 10 minutes, yet repeated nightly, those 10 minutes begin to reshape identity itself. Within 30 nights, hesitation decreases. Within 90 nights, composure strengthens noticeably. Within 1 year, your behavior transforms completely. There was once a merchant who adopted this nightly audit. Within weeks, he began seeing patterns of waste he had ignored for years. His profits did not rise from sudden inspiration, but from consistent correction. A salesman reviewing his days honestly discovered small hesitations in his speech. These tiny pauses were costing him commissions. Through nightly awareness, he refined his tone, and his income followed. The ritual builds awareness first. Awareness leads to correction. Correction leads to advancement. Most people abandon this practice because it feels too simple. It lacks excitement. It has no audience, no applause. And that is exactly why it works. True discipline grows in silence. The sequence must remain intact. Purpose first. Visualization second. Audit third. Correction fourth. Gratitude fifth. Command last. This order builds direction before inspection. Inspection before correction. Correction before reinforcement. Repeat it consistently and it becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. Miss one night and nothing seems to change. Miss 5 nights and drift quietly returns. Consistency is the force behind transformation. Before finishing your ritual, say quietly, I close each day with authority. I correct errors before sleep. My mind works under my command. And when you rise the next morning, you will not wake as a victim of yesterday, but as the executor of a decision made with intention. Part 3, the compounding effect. Why this ritual separates the wealthy from the drifting. 2 men may begin life with equal intelligence, equal opportunity, equal potential, yet within 1 year, their incomes begin to separate. Within 5 years, their lives look completely different. Within 10, one appears successful, while the other seems forgotten. But this difference did not begin in public. It began at night. One man ended each day reacting to life. The other ended each day commanding it. The man who sleeps without reflection repeats his mistakes unconsciously. Small inefficiencies grow, hesitation becomes habit, doubt becomes part of his tone. He does not collapse dramatically, he drifts slowly. But the disciplined man corrects himself daily. Small errors are stopped before they grow. His tone sharpens, his decisions accelerate, his confidence stabilizes. At first, the difference is invisible, but over time, it becomes undeniable. This is the law of cumulative alignment. When a man ends each day aligned with his purpose, his actions begin to move toward it naturally. But when he ends each day scattered, his efforts are dispersed, and income always follows alignment. 1 year of nightly correction prevents years of repeated mistakes. Most men live decades repeating the same patterns because they never face them directly. But the millionaire does, every single night. Think about how much time is lost to habits never examined. A small delay tolerated daily becomes a permanent pattern. You understand something most men will never truly grasp, not because it is hidden, but because it is simple, and simplicity is often ignored. You have seen the law, you have learned the sequence, you now understand the compounding effect. But here is the truth that separates knowledge from transformation. Nothing changes until you decide to apply it. Tonight is not just another night. It is a dividing line between who you have been and who you are becoming. Because from this moment forward, you can no longer say you don't know. You know exactly what must be done. You know that the final minutes of your day are not insignificant. They are decisive. They are the quiet architects of your future. Every night, you are either building direction or reinforcing confusion. Every night, you are either sharpening your mind or allowing it to scatter. Every night, you are either preparing success or unconsciously rehearsing failure. And the world will never see these moments. No one will applaud you for sitting in silence. No one will recognize the discipline of your thoughts. No one will reward you immediately. But that is exactly where the power lies. Because what is built in silence becomes unstoppable in reality. Understand this deeply. Success is not created in one grand moment. It is created in small, repeated decisions made when no one is watching. And the final 10 minutes of your day are one of the most powerful of those decisions. Think about the man you want to become. Not the version you show to others, but the version you know you are capable of becoming. The disciplined one, the focused one, the one who follows through, the one who does not hesitate. That man is not built in a single day. He is built night after night, through clarity, through correction, through command. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is unstable. It comes and it goes. Discipline, however, discipline is constructed, and one of the strongest ways to construct it is through what you do before sleep. Because when you control the end of your day, you begin to control the beginning of your next one. And when you control your days, you begin to control your life. Let that sink in. Your life is not decided by luck. It is not decided by chance. It is not even decided by talent alone. It is decided by direction. And direction is reinforced daily. If you continue living by accident, your future will also happen by accident. But if you begin living by design, your future will begin to reflect intention. There will be resistance. There will be nights where you feel tired, where you want to skip the process, where your mind tries to convince you, just tonight doesn't matter. But that is the moment that matters the most, because discipline is not proven when it is easy. It is proven when it is inconvenient, when you sit upright, even when you are exhausted, when you read your purpose, even when you don't feel like it, when you face your truth without excuses. That is when you begin to change, not externally, but internally. And once the internal shift begins, the external world has no choice but to follow. Weeks will pass, and you will notice something different about yourself. You will speak with more certainty. You will act with more intention. You will hesitate less. Opportunities that once felt invisible will suddenly become clear. And people may call it luck, but you will know the truth. It was not luck, it was alignment. Alignment built night after night. Months will pass, and your results will begin to separate from those around you. Not dramatically at first, but consistently. And consistency is more powerful than intensity, because intensity fades. Consistency compounds. A year from now, you could be living a completely different life, not because of one big decision, but because of hundreds of small ones, made in the final minutes before sleep. So tonight, do not rush to bed unconsciously. Do not surrender your mind to distraction. Do not close your eyes without direction. Instead, sit, focus, command. Take control of those final 10 minutes, and you begin to take control of everything that follows. Because the man who controls his thoughts controls his actions, and the man who controls his actions controls his destiny. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. You don't need more information. You don't need a new strategy. You need decision, a clear, firm, undeniable decision. That you will no longer end your days by accident, but by design. And if you stay consistent, if you commit to this simple discipline, you will not recognize your life a year from now. Not because everything changed overnight, but because you did. Quietly, deliberately, powerfully. Now, the choice is yours. Will you drift into sleep like the majority, or will you rise even in silence and conquer your tomorrow before it begins? If this message spoke to you, if you are ready to take control of your life, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Rise and conquer, because this is where transformation begins.